This is the LACCAL PrideCast.
LACCAL PrideCast.
The LACCAL PrideCast
is the LACCAL PrideCast.
This is the LACCAL PrideCast.
Your monthly extra shot of pride.
Good morning, partners, and welcome to your LACCAL PrideCast May edition. My name is Lindsay. I am one of your LACCAL co-chairs, also district manager of District 667, Compton Gardena in Area 159. I am here with our partner, Jenn Stewart.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jenn Stewart. My pronouns are she, her. I am a 21-year partner, a regional lead for LACCAL, a licensed district manager, TLA, and my geography is kind of everywhere, but I got 24 stores, and I was formerly on the Pride Network as a co-chair.
Wow.
Yeah.
Your roles are as long as LGBTQ plus IA.
All the alphabet
Yes.
things. Yes, I want to add that to everything, to my business card, resume, all the things.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for being here with me today.
I'm really excited.
Yeah, we're going to talk about parenting.
Oh.
We have some experience in that.
This is a great, May, Mother's Day, sounds good.
Yeah, absolutely. And even, the term mother is an interesting topic for me. I don't personally identify as mother.
Okay.
I consider myself a parent to my daughter, a positive adult role model, hopefully somebody that motivates and inspires her to be a better human every day. But that's part of why we want to talk about this, right? Not one size fits all in parenting.
Sounds good.
So, tell us about it. How, and I will share my journey as well, but how'd your family come to form? Did you always want to be a parent? Did you set out to make a big family like you have?
These questions are really hard for a May podcast. I just want to say that. But I think there's no wrong way, right? And I think we may understand that being from our community and who we or how we identify and who we choose to love. And so my family formed very non-traditionally. I can say I started traditionally. I was obviously married to a man before I was married to my beautiful wife, Lisa, now. We had 2 children, created Ryan and Seth. And when they were 2 and 5, I divorced and went on a journey of self-discovery, really changed my entire life, came to Starbucks, came out, met my wife. I identify as a pansexual, and so that was really fluid for me. I grew up in a single mother home, and my mom was a little bit of a hippie and kind of really just told me you can be whoever you want to be, you can love whoever you want to love, and I knew that I didn't have any type of judgment in that form. And so when I met my wife and we decided to be together, we wanted more kids, and so we got married about 3 years into our relationship, and then we started to really think about what we were going to do next to start having more children. And of course, my boys don't really know anything different. From 3 to 6, they've been with my wife, and we've been together for 19 years. And so when they were 8 and 11, we actually finally got pregnant through IUI and had our 3rd son, Andrew. And in addition, tried to have another child, and that didn't come to fruition. But we're happy and whole as a party of 5. And that's kind of how my family formed.
Wow.
When you think about coming out, in the community, not only did I have to come out, but I think, having conversations with my kids, that was also something that they had to do.
Yeah.
What about yours?
That's interesting. Super different situation for me.
Yeah.
I never set out to be a parent. And I don't mean that in sort of a negative way, but I never saw myself as somebody that was even responsible enough to raise other humans when I'm, feeling like I'm challenged raising myself. But I identify as a lesbian, so I have only exclusively dated women since I was 20 years old. Never really thought about forming a traditional family, and actually kind of veer away from heteronormative situations, and it makes me very uncomfortable to feel like, I'm fulfilling like a mother or father role, right? My wife, on the other hand, was married to a man for several years and had a baby.
Mm-hmm.
So when I met her in 2010, my daughter was already 10 years old.
Yeah.
And so meeting a 10-year-old with all of her thoughts and opinions and perspectives on the world, it was a little intimidating.
Yeah.
You have this little person that has so much perspective that I didn't expect out of a 10-year-old. So one of the biggest nerve-wracking moments for us was, how do we tell her that her mom is still her mom, her dad is still her dad,
mm-hmm.
and meet Lindsay? what is Lindsay, right?
Yeah.
So it was actually super surprising to me around 2010 to 2011 when I have this 10-year-old girl that is totally okay with her mom dating another woman. And then 3 years into it, it seems like the time frame, about 3 years is when we get married.
Okay, that's good because, we typically move fast.
We move fast. So, but my daughter, it was never a question of why, what, or how. It was always, who are you? And how are you towards my mom?
Yeah.
How well do you take care of my mom? How well is she to when you two are together? And in the recent years, my daughter has even reflected and been like, wow, like this dynamic has changed my life and it has changed my mom's life.
Sometimes I think that we get too caught up in like normative routines, right? Like, is this what she's going to be doing? Is this what I'm going to be doing? And I think we really just took a different, like, holistic approach. Like, let's talk about it. We did a lot of what we called family circle.
Okay.
And so,
what's that?
okay, so even if it's a question like, what do you want for dinner? Family circle. How do you want to talk about report cards? Family circle. When there was questions, because let's face it, when we got together and then things were becoming a little bit more like every single day, and then the move-in conversation, and then, hey, we're engaged, and hey, we're going to get married. The boys were all for it. That they were very much like, this is my mom, and if she's happy, we really didn't focus on things that were negative. And then when we dealt with negative, I think that's when we started having family circle talks. So I can share a story about how integrating my current wife into the picture and going to our first Little League game.
Wow.
Right. Different. Okay. And being able to say, like, this is Lisa, this is my girlfriend, to parents and family that, on the baseball family is what I'm saying,
right.
is being able to say, like, this is who I choose, and then being very confident in it, and then letting people show up to the way they need to, and then answering questions as open as we possibly can to provide comfort and ease, I think. But it was the first time I realized it wasn't about what I was doing. It was this come out for my children, and they had to be able to be like, yeah, that's my mom and her girlfriend. Like, I don't understand the difference. Like, I don't get it. And I think because it had happened in such a progression, right, that we talked about, like, well, what happens when someone says, like, that's not okay, or I can't go to your house, or, so we had to have a lot of family circle conversations that really landed in kind of the psychological safety, and it's okay to feel that way, or why do you think somebody else would feel the way they do about our family? And then that I really felt like caused them to have really some early on emotional intelligent moments where they realized who would be their friends and who they'd hang out with at school and how they would share their family with others.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think about, you're right, like when we are considering introducing our families to the world, that is at the front of the mind. Like, how is my child going to navigate this? I know what it was like for me coming out, but it's also a whole new world, a whole new generation of people. And, I think my daughter, fortunately, has my wife's personality and is very strong-willed, very opinionated, and is like, no, you are not going to be homophobic.
Yeah.
I am not going to allow this to exist. Even as a teenager, she would come home talking about things that were just, they were really, like, surprising, but I think it gave me a lot of hope for the future. Watching how my daughter navigated these conversations and was so confident in, no, you're not even right. So I'm not even going to entertain the idea that what's coming out of your mouth right now is correct. The way my parents are is the way my parents are.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting when she first started to introduce us to boys.
And
And I think, that's where we don't have a formal family circle, but there are conversations that have to happen. Like, what are you going to say to Kevin before you bring him to the door? And that, I discovered was more for me than for her, because I felt like, oh man, I have to come out to Kevin. I have to let him know that his girlfriend has two moms. And I'm shouldering that, going like, okay, now it's time to come out to Kevin. Like, we got to dress right. And we got to, show up our best selves.
That's so true.
Meanwhile, my wife is like, I'm going to meet Kevin at the door. And I'm going to
How hysterical.
I'm going to make sure that Kevin treats her right. And I'm like, oh, I was more worried about impressing Kevin and making sure that he understood we were normal people. But
that's so funny.
My wife presents a lot more, traditionally heterosexual than I do.
Yeah.
And identifies as bisexual as well. And so me being exclusively a lesbian, I think that for me, I shoulder a lot more of that than my wife does and my daughter.
Yeah.
And so that's where, our life experiences, I think, do shape the way our kids approach the world.
1,000%.
And I do think we're in an accelerated phase right now of kids just being hyper aware globally that there are so many perspectives and so many ways to live, and that there is no right or wrong way to raise your kids. But I think that there is an element of social awareness that we offer our kids.
Yeah.
Well, I really can't come up with a better way to start to round out this conversation without us going down tremendous amount of rabbit holes about all of this. But I think you said it perfectly. And I think that is really the point of, today's conversation, is to help expose more people to the idea that, our own experiences can have, a tremendous impact. And there is no real right or wrong way to necessarily raise our kids when it comes to the topics that we're talking about. But what is absolutely, I think everybody can agree is right, is instilling empathy, instilling compassion, having an open mind that there is no one way to navigate this world. And so hopefully this was helpful, and hopefully, if not anything else, entertaining to watch Jenn and I talk about our families in front of all of you all. So thank you so much for your time.